So you have had that session? Have you had that session?
Is it called physiology of stress?
Oh, perhaps, yeah, maybe. So you have done the physiology of stress. Oh, so you have done the physiology of stress. So back to the question that was asked just now, the physiology of stress, does it directly affect your ACTH? What was taught to you?
CRH.
CRH sahaja, is it? Okay.
Yes, that's what I asked Dr. Hafiz. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what was implicated, it caused increase in cortisol. That's what matters actually, because CRH on its own doesn't do anything anyway, because the effect of CRH is based on the cortisol anyway. So I'm not really concerned of whether it is directly stimulate your ACTH or CRH, because the function of these two hormones has to be through the target organ, which is the production of cortisol, But yeah, I guess in terms of physiology, so maybe that's what was taught. So maybe because stress is a very general. It is related to so many things, especially in the hormone changes, So I am not quite sure of that. But what for sure is it can be used as a means to stimulate your your cortisol. Yeah, so yes, CRH, yes, because you want to also stimulate your ACTH. Because the reason why we do stress, we create stress just now in a triple function test is to stimulate the ACTH. Whether it's directly or it's through CRH, I am not very sure, but I suppose perhaps if we want to test the function of the ACTH, it's best to test something that can directly stimulate it, because if it stimulates via CRH, then you have to make sure that CRH is okay in this case, There is no like tertiary hypopituitarism. I really don't know. You can search for it though. Yeah. Okay. So can we proceed with adrenal disorders? So for adrenal disorders, of course, we are going to discuss hyperadrenalism as well as adrenal insufficiency. Okay, so we are going to concentrate on Cushing's syndrome, Addison's disease, Conn's syndrome. Okay, very, very briefly on perhaps just an introduction of congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and very briefly on pheochromocytoma. You have come across pheochromocytoma in any of your physiology session? Yes. Case study ke?
No, it was part of the lecture.
It's just a physiology lecture. Okay, all right. Okay, so what is important as well is when you study your hyper and hypoadrenalism, try to differentiate between primary and secondary hyper and hypo and hyperadrenalism, because the clinical manifestations are different. Okay, with hyper and hypo. Yeah, that is, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, whenever it is applicable, we are going to discuss on the dynamic test as well, as for yeah. Okay, so I think that we are going to go through for adrenal disorder. Okay. All right. So first, did you have a chance to any of the lecture come through this diagram, the synthesis of thyroid hormone?
Yeah.
You were introduced of this. Okay. So I showed this just again to show you where your your glucocorticoid, your mineralocorticoid, and your androgen comes about and produced in your adrenal. Okay, so it undergoes these pathways, and some of the enzymes are interrelated. Okay, so if you look at this diagram, some of the disorders, for example, in congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which involve deficiency in any of these enzymes, it might cause decrease in one enzyme and increase in another enzyme. Okay, for example, later we talk about 21 hydroxylase deficiency. Okay, if there is a deficiency here, decrease in this hormone, but you can have accumulation of this hormone which lead to accumulation of this. Okay, so there are a few other enzyme deficiency adrenal disorder, but we are not going to discuss so much about this enzymes deficiency. Along the